Woodcarving among the ancients has always been most inspiring for me. I find that it is actually, this is just a simple seminar on carving human faces, but if you're a beginner, you may find it useful. I'm going to begin with a few minutes of general overview on how I carve. I start off with ideas, whatever inspires me, and then the real work begins. Research. Nothing will help like studying from life if you're doing representational work. Life drawing gives you the same information that anybody who ever did a study of human anatomy had. You can also go to gallery books. I use anatomy books quite a bit too. Various kinds. Any kind of research that will help you understand your forms. Libraries are a great source. All kinds of materials there. Galleries, get inspired by what other artists have done. But, of course, there's the internet. All kinds of faces to look at and study, but you can also do your own photography and your own video, too, and use that as a starting point. If you're a beginner, it's possible to start from a rough out. You have all the forms and you just add the detail. But if you really want to get into it, you begin again with some good research. Drawing is very helpful. Modeling, you can use any kind of material to help materialize your form. I like using computer modeling also, and I find it helpful for calculating glue joints if you have to make a big piece where you have to glue up wood. But any of those will help. Then have a good workspace, well lit, where you're working at the right height. Chisels. I have deep chisels for deep carving and more shallow chisels for relief carving. Don't forget that there's a good selection of power tools out there. I don't want to ignore that. I can't emphasize safety enough. Never put any part of yourself in front of that cutting edge, whether it's a chisel or a power tool, and follow all the recommended safety procedures and advice. Finishing is more than just putting some varnish on. You can use stain to help antique a piece to bring things out, or you can use it just to get rid of some aspects of the wood finish that you don't want. Little staining and bleaching just to make the wood more agreeable to your forms. Shows and clubs are a great way to get started. You can get inspiration from other pieces and meet other artists and share and grow from your own ideas. Okay, now the real thing begins. We start off with a block of wood. This is just a scrap off a bigger project, but the wood is good. I'm going to start a face off by just giving a general indication of proportions. This is a little technique that I use. The face is divided into 6 units high and 4 units wide. And I can do that mentally even without having to draw on the block a lot. The eyebrows are 2 units down. The bottom of the nose are 2 more units down. The bottom of the eyes are 3 units down and 5 units down the bottom of the lip. The head is 5 eyes wide. It's just a good general process for keeping proportions. But now I'm going to begin with the chainsaw, as you see. It's hard to find anything that will get rid of wood faster than a chainsaw. Now you can do all this with a chisel, but I thought I would just show you even a faster way. You can do a lot with a chainsaw. A lot of people, that's all they use. I like a chisel finish, so I'm just going to use this just to rough out. And you can see I have to get the right depth, so working deep enough is a real trick. You have to look at it from the side occasionally too, and from underneath to make sure that the profiles are correct. There, I'm leaving a chunk for ears and hair and around the shoulders, because all I'll be doing now is just working on the face. So you can see I've left a lump for the nose. I've rounded off the jaw a little bit and dropped that down. Now you can see with the profile also, it's a deep relief. It's not full depth, but I've got a chunk for the nose. Now I'll get the chisels out, and the real work with refining it will begin. The first thing that you hit is the nose and the forehead, so you smooth those out, but then you leave them. And the way to get them to pop out is by pushing the wood away from around them. That makes the background recede, and automatically the foreground pops out. Now, just smoothing off the cheeks a little bit. I'm not going to be refining this piece a whole lot, just get general forms to show you the general rough out process and how to get down to those final details. Rounding off a little bit more. Now I'm going to start to create a bit of a bulge where the mouth is. Again, to get it to pop out, you've got to take wood away from around it. And with the eyes too, the way to get the eyes and all that to pop out is by taking wood around from the inside and allowing the eye socket to push out. There. Now I'll just start working smaller and smaller chisels to get deeper and deeper into the recesses. You can see at this point there a flatter chisel just to smooth things off a little bit. But I'm going to be getting into smaller and smaller gouges. Just keep pushing that form in, making it really pop out. There's no sense in putting detail on before you have all these lumps and bumps and forms correct, because you'll just have to redo your detail again, sending it deeper and deeper. If you can get that whole face so that all the rough forms are at the right depth and in the right shape, then when you put the details on, everything will make sense. And you can also see the way I'm using these chisels, the edges of the cuts are almost like little pencil lines. So again, I'm not drawing on the block. There's nothing to say you can't. It's helpful. But I'm using these chisel cuts like pencil lines. They indicate, so you can see where the upper eyelid is and the lower eyelid. I don't have it penciled in, but you can tell by the edges of the cuts where a lot of that's going to be. It's a visual guide as you go down. Around the mouth too, it all works with the chisel cuts. Now, again, don't worry if you like to have a pencil and more guides on the block, you do that. But there's a way to do it with the chisel cuts also. They're just working down closer and closer, getting some of those details in. It's taking a little finer form. Now, a smaller chisel, and pretty soon there's a V-tool which will create some grooves, getting into the deepest spots. And once I have that, then I'm going to go ahead and start with the knife. I always leave the knife for last because you really make commitments with those knife cuts. And you want to make sure that everything is at the right depth and the right shape. And that way, you only have to make a cut once. And you won't be making such a big commitment. And that's where the mistakes will happen. Now, just a little scoop to create a shadow for the iris. There's a lot of different ways of doing eyes, but this is just one very quick method, and it's reasonably effective. And I'm not going to take it down too much further now. I just want you to see roughly the idea. So you look at the profile to make sure that things are at the right depth, that it's not too flat. It's a little flat because it's deep relief. It's not full depth there, but just deep enough to really give a convincing feel. Thank you for watching, and I hope you find that helpful.